Hello, Internet individuals, and welcome to this week's interesting information. Today, we are going to be talking about how to move to Japan! Specifically, visas! Japan is a country with relatively strict immigration laws. You might have heard that if you want to live in Japan, you need a bachelor's degree. If you want to work in Japan, you don't necessarily need a bachelor's degree. What you most commonly need a bachelor's degree for is to obtain a visa. The first thing we're going to look at is the types of visas, specifically for US to Japan. Sorry every other country, I just don't live in that country, so I haven't been specifically studying how to move out of that country. I'm sorry. So the types of visas available to Americans are the highly skilled professional visa, the working visa, which is one of the most common, if not the most common, the general visa, which includes things like student, dependents / homestays, and cultural activities such as unpaid internships. Then there's your specified visa. This is most commonly a spouse visa. This is also the long-term resident visa. Then there's the startup visa, which is for entrepreneurs or people looking to start up businesses. The last two are diplomatic and official. I listed these two together because they're kind of the same. The diplomatic visa is going to be directly for diplomats, visiting diplomats from other countries who are currently staying in Japan for foreign affairs. The official visa kind of includes all of their administrative and technical staff of those missions. Anybody who, say is answering the phone in that diplomat's office while they're in that country. These are unfortunately all of the available visa types from the US to Japan. You might have heard some YouTubers talking about a working stay visa or a working vacation visa. Unfortunately, the United States and Japan do not have that agreement. You do not need a visa to visit for up to 3 months. However, in order to visit, you need not only a ticket to Japan, but a ticket out of Japan as well. Immigration will not let you enter the country unless you have a ticket already purchased that says you are leaving their country before your 3 months is up. If you are just there to visit though, that shouldn't really be a big deal because generally you bought round-trip tickets, unless of course it was cheaper to buy 2 separate tickets, but nowadays it rarely is unless you have insider information. And if you do have insider information, you should leave it in the comments below so that some of us may be able to get some, super cheap plane tickets to one day go to Japan, because holy crap are those tickets expensive. Unfortunately, the general theme of this whole video is going to be that moving to Japan is expensive, and not necessarily because it's expensive to live in Japan. When you are looking up visa information on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website for Japan, it doesn't actually stipulate anywhere on there, you need a bachelor's degree. Actually, what it says is, you need a certificate of eligibility.
So, this is the immigration website of Japan, or the Ministry of Immigration's website. This is the table that tells you all of the necessary information about obtaining your certificate of eligibility. This is the section that tells you what your necessary documents are, and this table then is what breaks down what necessary documents or supporting documents you need per what kind of visa you are attempting to apply for. So as you will notice here, I am highlighting that each visa doesn't necessarily say that you need a bachelor's degree specifically. It says you need documents certifying the activity, or documents verifying your intent, or documents verifying that you have the amount of money to stay in the country. So now you come to researcher, which is the first one that actually strictly says the word diploma in it. Otherwise, you will continue to note that they all just say documents that prove essentially whatever it is that you're attempting to prove. So yeah, an engineer also says a diploma. specialist in human and international services says a diploma, but mostly they really just want documents verifying A, that you have enough money, or B, that you have a diploma in whatever you're coming over to work in. Now, the entertainer is the most interesting case, I think, because this is the one where really money is just honestly the most important. They require you to have documents that certify that you make a certain amount of money as an entertainer, and then you can essentially work as an entertainer in Japan, provided that you continue to keep making that amount of money. I have listed the website to the Immigration Bureau of Japan below in the description box. This way you can go over the website and read through everything that you will need for your specific type of living in Japan.
So there you have it, my interested individuals, straight from the website of the Embassy and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs themselves. Do you need a bachelor's degree? Usually yes, and if not a bachelor's degree, some other form of documentation to prove to the Japanese government that you are skilled in the things you are saying you are skilled in, so that you're not going to come into the workplace and not know how to do the job you were hired to do. It's kind of their way of throwing up a safety net. A certificate of eligibility is essentially a paper stating that somebody in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Japan has vetted your application and determined that everything on your application is true, that you didn't lie, and that you are all clear for moving to Japan. In the cases where you don't need a bachelor's degree, you unfortunately alternatively need an assload amount of money. The one thing they care about more than whether or not you have a piece of paper that says you can do what you can do is that you have lots of pieces of paper that have a monetary value to them. They don't care if you are the smartest individual ever. If you don't have a bank account that says you can support yourself while you are living there until you start receiving a regular paycheck, they still won't let you enter the country. If you are a prospective college student who wants to, say, study abroad at a university there, they will not let you study abroad unless you or, say, a guardian or a family member has a bank account statement that has a certain amount of money in it that will allow them to see that you have access to the necessary amount of money to take care of yourself while you're there. Having a student visa doesn't automatically mean you get to work. In most cases, it does mean you can work up to 30 or 35 hours, which is part-time. However, you still need to receive permission from your university and your district before you can just start working. In fact, a lot of schools in Japan do not let their students have part-time jobs because they believe that it interferes with the time they should be studying instead. So if you were one of those people who's really looking forward to just moving to Japan, maybe working a food service job or at a store or at a factory somewhere, a job that wouldn't necessarily need a bachelor's degree, I hate to burst your bubble, but that's not very likely to happen, especially if you have zero language skill. How that is likely to happen is if you first go over there for another reason, either to work in a different sector that doesn't require you to have that language, or to go over there as a student to learn the language, and you then really buff up your language skill, and then you find a job that really only requires you to have Japanese proficiency and a certain skill set you already have, instead of necessarily a bachelor's degree. However, if you are looking to get a visa from the United States into Japan, you are at some point going to have some form of documentation, bachelor's degree or otherwise, that proves you are capable of doing what you say you are, and that proves the information you have listed out for them on the application. That's really all they care about. And that you have the amount of money needed to take care of yourself until you start working. This is actually why I have yet to live in Japan myself. I have not had the amount of money needed to take care of myself for an entire year without working. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in the bank account for me to show the Japanese government and then live off of while I'm a college student. My husband very much so works full-time. I work part-time and for myself while I am in school. I am very grateful and very lucky that I have a husband who's willing to take on the majority of our responsibility and our expenses for me to do that. When it comes time to move there, to work there, having 1 month's expenses is much different than having 12 months expenses, which is something that, say if you're going for a language school, that's 6 months long. The Japanese government is going to require you to have 6 months worth of expenses saved up in a bank account with a bank statement you can submit to them to show that you have that money. It's one of the reasons why so many people who are actually interested in Japan can't move there. Because unfortunately, a lot of the scholarships too, for say study abroad programs in college, don't actually cover the entire cost. For example, the study abroad program, which is 1 semester at my college that's offered, there's several different colleges that you can go study abroad at, but regardless, all of them in cost are $29,000. An entire year at my university is less than half that. And that's 1 semester study abroad at a Japanese university. There are also many language schools that you can go to which are lower in price, but you're still kind of looking at in between like $5,000 and $10,000 just in tuition, let alone in room and board, okay, and food while you're there, the flight over, and the amount of money you just need to have in your bank account for the Japanese government to be like, yeah, that's enough, you can come live here. I hate to say it, but they really only want either rich or educated individuals from other countries entering their country. And their immigration laws most definitely reflect that, because the 2 things you absolutely need to enter this country are money and education. Or not even education, but a piece of paper and or statement from a company that says you have the education you say you do. Thank you for watching my interesting internet individual. I am very grateful. I would be even more so grateful if you could prove to me how intelligent you are by pressing that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for watching this video, my interesting internet individual. If you did find this information helpful and or clarifying and or anything at all, please press that like button so that this video may be sent out into the YouTube-verse, so that other people who want to move to Japan can also find this video and have an answer to that question. Because I cannot tell you how many years I actually searched over those websites like, this just says documents, does that mean it's a diploma? Only this one says diploma. Is it absolutely necessary? Is there a job that I could get? Is there a school I could go to? The answer is absolutely. You could totally move to Japan without a bachelor's degree if you have assloads and assloads of money. If you don't have assloads and assloads of money, then unfortunately you probably need a bachelor's degree. The irony being that you kind of need assloads of money to obtain a bachelor's degree anyway. If you think that you can't get a bachelor's degree for whatever reason, you dropped out of high school, you can't fucking afford it, you just don't think you can for some reason, I bet you that you can, alright? And I'm going to list my video down below of how I went from a high school dropout to an honors university student, specifically for this goal of moving to Japan. Not just Japan, but actually many other countries around the world, hopefully, you know, in the years to come. I can't wait, actually. So if you're interested in Japan and other just random shit in general, go ahead and click the subscribe button. You know, you don't have to though. I would appreciate it if one day, you know, we might get to monetization, because then I could actually use that money to like make more aesthetically pleasing videos, to get better equipment. Right now you can actually see the lamp lights and on the board, you know, maybe one day I could get like an actual light. I just don't feel comfortable in spending buttloads and buttloads of money on something that is very much so a hobby. If the hobby itself made its own money, I would happily spend the hobby's money on the hobby, but with tuition and rent and food being so expensive when you have to eat healthy, because I'm also on a diet slash trying not to be 250 pounds. I'm not 250 pounds anymore. Now I'm only 180 pounds. Anyway, way too much information. Press the like and subscribe button if you have pity on my soul. If you don't, you know, press the like and subscribe button just to stick around and watch me suffer more in the future. Yeah. I'm just kidding. I don't really suffer at all. I have an excellent life and I'm a pretty positive, optimistic person. So like the world could be on fire and I would be like, you know what, I like bonfires, so it's okay. I can roast my marshmallows on this. I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to set a fire in your heart. That's kind of a lie. It would be cool to set the world on fire.